Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining me today. For this month, we continue our asset management series, and we're going to focus on the inventory app. Now, if you have the inventory app, feel free to log in and follow along with me as I walk through the features. As always, the training is being recorded and can be viewed at your leisure once it's been posted on our Salamander YouTube channel. Also, as always, if you have questions during the training, please feel free to send me a message or you can unmute yourself and ask the question directly. Before we dive right into the inventory app, just want to do a quick high level on what the inventory app is for those that may be newer to this application. So the inventory app, this is a mobile application. This is the mobile part of the asset management feature. So asset management features two components. One is within Salamander Live, which we covered last month, which is going in and adding all of your inventory, creating those records. The second part of it is the inventory app. Now, with the inventory app, you are able to issue your inventory, return the inventory, adjust your inventory, and this is all on the go. So the inventory app just makes this very mobile. You can bring it with you where you need to if you're doing inventory in the warehouse, in the building, in your equipment room. Um, all you need is your actual phone. You don't need to bring a computer with you. Now, with the issuance feature, you're able to track all the equipment that's been issued out, whether that's during an event or for day-to-day use. Whether it's consumable or fixed assets, you also have the visibility to who has what and how long they've had that for. With the return feature, fixed assets can be returned by scanning the equipment barcode. So the barcodes, there's a couple different options. We talked about these options last week, whether it's a hard card or a label that you slap on the piece of equipment. You have your different options. And last but not least is the adjust feature. So as items are being returned, that status can be updated and reflected in Salamander Live. That adjust feature allows you to go in and adjust the quantity. You can adjust the status, and you can add some notes. And of course, you're able to take pictures using the device camera as well. And all the stuff that you're doing within your inventory app is being sent up directly to Salamander Live. So it's best to use the inventory app with an internet connection. It does not work well with no internet connection because a lot of this is real time. So it's pulling up your most available equipment and inventory from the Salamander Live database and then making it available in your phone to see what quantities you have on hand. All right, so I'm going to dive right into the inventory app. All right, so with the inventory app, you do have to have a license for this. So you do have to be provided a login. All that is done through Salamander Live. So I'll pull up Salamander Live just to show for those that may be newer to setting up licenses. So when you log into Salamander Live, you're going to need access to security users. So when you go into security users, you're going to go into that user that's going to need access to the inventory app. And then you should see the products listed below. So here it is, it's the inventory app right here. That's what you're going to need to assign to the individual. Now, last month we talked about access to the inventory features within Salamander Live. That is listed underneath the Salamander Live product. See that under inventory. So there's two different areas here. I just want to make sure that there is understanding of the differences between the two. Now the inventory app itself has its own user role that can be assigned, especially if they currently have, so the user has a role that does not allow them to have access to the inventory features. So administrator, obviously that gives them full access, but if they are, let's say, just an equipment manager, where they only have a specific role called equipment management, what they're going to also need is a role called inventory app user, which allows them to utilize the features within the inventory app. All right, so let's dive right into the inventory app. Okay, so in the inventory app, when you log in, you're going to see your user information at the top there, and you're going to see 3 menu items, as I talked about earlier. You're able to issue items, return items, and adjust items. So we're going to go through each of these functions one at a time. So let's look at issue item here. So an issue item, when you go in here, it's gonna take you into your issue screen. So this is you looking at issuing equipment to a specific person and making them accountable or responsible for that piece of equipment. Okay. What you see here that's listed under the issue is everything that you have that's available. So if you have consumables that are out of stock, they're not going to be listed here. If you have fixed equipment that is missing, out of service, or being serviced, that's not going to be listed here. So only anything that's in stock and available. Everything will be listed in alphanumeric order. You'll see in here, there's a long list on here, so you can scroll through your list to find the items. You have some buttons at the top here where you're able to manually search for items. Down at the bottom, you're going to see that you have a scan button, which allows you to scan in those QR codes that you printed for your equipment. And then you have your cart. So I'm working off on a phone. So on the phone, you're going to see that you're going to only have one screen that shows what you have available. If you're working off an iPad, you'll have the cart on the right side of your screen. So you don't actually have to tap the cart to go into the cart, which is a great thing about working on a tablet or iPad is that everything's on one screen. You just have much more screen real estate to work with. So taking a look at the list on here, you'll see that with each item, if there is a picture that's been uploaded, you'll see it listed here. Some of this, again, this is my training account, so some of these pictures might not make sense. But you'll see that after each item, there is either a plus or a hashtag. The plus indicates that that item is a fixed item. There's only one of that item with that ID number. So like, for example, this 3.5 millimeter earpiece is with ID number 506. So if you have a multiple and you're not for sure which one it is, you can tap on that particular item. So you tap on the name itself, and it'll take you into its profile. Depending on the information, right? So you're going to have to look in here. It depends on what's been captured for this record within Salamander Live. You'll see this information in here. So you'll see there's a bunch of pending alerts on here, which is ongoing. Okay, so this is obviously one that I need to clear out, but if you scroll all the way down the bottom, if there's anything else, you'll see that's down there, okay? Now you'll see that right here, there is an option, there's the picture that's been uploaded. If we tapped on one that didn't have a picture, let's tap on this AFD Engine 2. This one does not have a picture. I do have the option of uploading a picture right away. So I can take one right from my phone. So this is by going to the profile, tapping on that placeholder, should be a truck on there. And again, if there's already a picture in there and you want to update that picture, simply tap on that. And then you have your option to take photo or choose from the library. Okay, so you have your options right there. If you do take a photo, it's going to upload it immediately. So if it's replacing one, you'll see that it replaces the old image. If it didn't have one, it's going to upload that right away in there. Okay. All right. That's the same thing for consumables. I can tap on the batteries and you'll see that it shows my quantity on hand and anything else I have in there for the profile. So how do we issue out items? So it is recommended to scan. So that means printing out barcodes from Salamander Live, either on the labels, the 2x1 labels, or if you have a piece of equipment that doesn't have the space for a 2x1 label, you could do a hard card and then zip tie that onto that piece of equipment. If it's a vehicle, you can use the 3-up tags, and those are the pre-punch 3 tag system, and you can put that on a keychain, or you can print off the 2x3 and put that in the glove department of a vehicle. So you have so many different options. Again, we talked about that last week, but if you want to review that, the video is uploaded in Salamander Live as well as on our YouTube channel. You can go back and review that information, how to print barcodes. But if you have your barcodes on here, all you're going to really do is tap the scan button. So you're going to tap the scan button. Now, if this is your first time using the inventory app, you may get a message that says that the app needs access to your camera. It'll pop up at the bottom here. Make sure you allow the camera access for the app. If you do not, you're not going to be able to scan not until you go into the settings on your phone to change that. Okay. So I'm just going to scan this breathing apparatus. I've got this barcode right here. You'll see that I just simply scanned it and it added it to my cart. You see that? Nice, quick, and easy. You'll see that the camera stays active. So this is very similar to the track app. If you worked with our track app, you'll know that it's a continuous scan mode. Except in here, you don't have to worry about assignments. So it's simply all it's doing, it's adding all the items into your cart. So you just go to the next item, scan the next item. Again, all you're doing is you're focusing on the barcode itself. So that's what the camera is there. You're focusing on the barcode. So you'll see on here, I purposely had this one marked out of service. So in this case, I've gotten a barcode. I scanned it and it says that this item was marked out of service. Okay, so this is probably something you'll want to double check, go into the actual record itself, take a look at why it was marked out of service. Hopefully someone made some notes on the alert side. And maybe it was out of service, it was fixed, and it was supposed to be put back in service and available. However, someone dropped a ball or probably forgot, didn't get a chance to mark it. So you do have the option of either canceling, saying, I need to research and investigate this further. Or if I'm the one that's managing this and I know I forgot to mark it as available, I can just tap add to cart. So once I add it to cart, it adds that piece of equipment into my cart. In that process, once I complete this transaction, this issue transaction, it's going to automatically back end in Salamander Live and in the reports, it's going to mark that camera as being returned and then assigned. Okay, so it does all the activity timestamps for that all in one. So again, I can continue scanning away. You'll see that I'm able to scan a bunch of items at one time. Okay, so I just so far scanned in some fixed items. What about some consumables? How does consumables look like? So if I'm scanning consumables, you'll see the difference is that I get this add to cart. You're going to see that there's a quantity. So this is the quantity on hand. So I've got 9,977 on hand. And what I scanned was a 100 pack. So it depends again on how you inventory your items, especially when it comes to your consumables, if that's what you're looking at capturing in there. So is it a pair of gloves? Is it a box of gloves? How many's in that box? What are you handing out to that individual? So I'm handing out a box, which is 100 in there. So I'm just going to tap the 1, and that's when I'm going to issue out to this individual. Okay. It's going to add it to my cart. Camera stays active. I'm able to scan more items. This is oil absorbent rolls. So again, type my quantity. This is per roll. So I'm going to do 2. See that? Nice, quick, and simple. Okay. So again, camera is active this entire time. Now I've got a bunch of items that's in my cart. If the person is standing in front of me, the person which is going to receive all these items and they have their ID card on them, I can scan their ID. Okay, I can scan their ID. Oh, I can scan their ID. There's their, cancel that. There's their ID. I'm going to scan. There's a glare on here. Let me 1 second on here. Let me put this down better. Try this way. There it goes. I've added the person's barcode. Okay. I tap the back button on this case. Go back on here. I actually tapped the wrong button, so I apologize. As the light is shining right on top of this. So let me grab my people barcodes. I'm going to scan the barcode instead from here. Okay. Here I've got a person. Scan their barcode. There it goes. So much easier when I scan it on here versus the glare on my card because I have the light that's basically right on top of me. Okay, so I'm just going to add a couple more items to my to my cart on here. So you can see how quick and fast it is to add the items. Okay. Once you're done, simply tap the back button. You'll see the person that you scanned them in. They'll be listed in there. If they've got a picture uploaded in their profile, you'll see it populate through. So far, I've got 8 items. So that's scanning. Very quick, very simple, very easy. Again, recommended way because it's going to get you through a lot quicker. Now, what if you don't have your inventory labeled? It's not the end of the world. You are able to manually add items into your cart. Or if the item's not in front of you and you know what the item number is or the ID for that, you're able to manually add the items. Okay, so you have a couple options. You can scroll through your list. So you can scroll through your list and issue that out. Simply all you're doing on here, I've got this Apex 8000 radio. I can tap the plus button and it adds it to my cart. You see that? If I got a consumable item that I want to add in, all I can do on here is I can tap on the hashtag. It's going to show my quantity on hand, type that in, apply, and it adds it to your cart. Okay, so again, you have the option of scrolling through. Again, if you have a lot of inventory items, you know, it's going to be pretty quick to go through it. But again, the faster and quicker way is to search for the items. Use the toolbar at the top there. So if you want to search for a specific item, you can tap the search button. You'll see that there's a search field in there. Simply type in the name of the item. Okay, so I'm just going to type in truck on here, tap search or the search bar, and then anything that has truck in the name is going to populate here. Okay, so all I'm going to do is going to tap the plus button, adds it to my cart. You see that? And then I can clear out my search. If I want to clear out my search and search again, I just tap the X another time. It's going to clear that out and I can search for a new item. If I don't want to search anymore, I want to back out and get back to my screen, I can just tap the back button to get out of my out of that search function. The other option that you have on here is filtering. So this is filtering for a specific area. So if you're filtering by category, you're filtering by organization or by parent. So how parent works is that in Salamander Live, this is just a review for those that are new to this. In Salamander Live, under the equipment database and within a record, you have the option of marking items. So you'll see on here, this one right here is I can search by category. You'll see here, there's a category. I created categories for my equipment. This is under radios. I also can search by organization if I want to, or I'm sorry, filter by organization. So if I want to just, you know, everything from Moose County Emergency Management, I can filter that list. Or if I want to filter by parent. So parent right here, it's a parent-child relationship between your equipment. All it is, it's linking your equipment together. So for example, if you have a trailer and on that trailer you have specific pieces of equipment on that trailer that's always on that trailer, you can link that equipment together. And that's done through this parenting field right here. So IST trailer is the parent and this radio belongs on this IST trailer. Okay. So that's basically what that parenting field is. So that's what this is where I can look for that. I can type in trailer. There it is. There's one on here called trailer number 1. I can tap on that, tap apply, and anything that's in that trailer is going to pop up. Right now, it looks like nothing's in there. It could be in there. It could be out of service, you know, a different status in there. It could already be assigned. That's why it's not populated on here. Okay. So I can tap the filter icon again, tap clear, and do another search again. Okay. So again, you can do by category. If I want to do PPE, I can type that in. I've got a category called PPE. You'll see it listed there. Make sure you select that from that drop down and then tap apply. So you can do one category or you can filter by all 3. Okay. So as I do that, I'll see my entire list. You'll see there's that X next to that filter. And that's, again, a visual indicator to let you know that that's not the entirety of your list. You got a filter set. If I want to clear that filter, all I do is tap the filter icon again, tap clear, and then tap apply. Clear and apply. And I get back my entire list. Next to this is the question mark. So if you ever forget how to do something in this application, especially on this screen, you can tap that question mark and it has steps on there for you. Once you're set and ready to complete this transaction, all you're going to do is tap on your cart. So I got 11 items in my cart. Now just know that if you have over 100 items in your cart, again, every single consumable item is counted as one. So if you issue out 100 of one item, this is going to say 99 plus. Okay. So I go into my cart. Once I get into my cart, you're going to see this is my cart summary. So it's kind of like you're shopping online. You throw everything into your cart, you verify before before you purchase. Same thing with this here. You verify that what you're giving out is everything that the person's going to get before you complete the issuance. So you verify the person that's receiving it. You do have the option of adding an event in this case. So selecting an event, what this is really doing is it's linking this issuance to a particular event. So what this does is allows you to view, there's a report within Salamander Live called the Inventory History Report. And what that report shows is every inventory item that was issued out and used or allocated for that particular event. So you can see costs on how much it costs to have all this equipment being used for that particular event. That's what this is doing. So this is not tying it to your actual event chart that's on the events dashboard. Okay, that's not what it's doing. So it's not going to show that Blossom Act has, and she's assigned to, let's say, checked in, and she has 9 of these equipment with her, and you're going to see 9 of those listed in the event dashboard on that assignment. That's not how that works. It's only available on the back end, so you'll be able to pull a report that shows what she has. So you can tap on select an event. It's going to pull up the events right here. So again, the event has to be running, has to be active in order for you to select this. So I'm going to just select it for this tornado event. Tap that and you'll see that the tornado event is now listed in here. Now for the items in here, if you made a mistake, you actually scanned something that you didn't mean to scan. Like for example, I have canister 1 and canister 2. If I want to remove that canister 2, I can just simply swipe to the left. You'll see there's the delete button. I can just continue swiping, or I can stop and just tap delete. So I'm going to swipe all the way. It removes the item from your cart. You can also, if you need to change the quantity, you can tap that number and change the quantity from there. So I'm going to do from 1 to 2, tap apply, and it's going to update your cart. Once you're done, simply tap the issue. Once you tap issue, you should see an issue success screen. It shows you what was issued out. And all you're going to do is tap return to cart. If you tap return to cart, it should take you back into your cart summary. You'll see that under the event I selected, tornado, is still listed there. Okay, so the application is doing that on purpose. Generally, if you select an event for an issuance, more than likely the next issuance you're doing is going to be related to that event. That's why it's listed there by default now. You can clear it out if the next issuance you're doing is not tied to this particular event. All you need to do to clear it out is tap on the event name. You'll see at the very top right, there's a clear button. That clear button will clear out the event and remove it from your issuance. So it's not tying your next issuance to that event. You also see earlier, excuse me, I didn't talk about this, but because I scanned the person, but if you didn't have the person's ID card in front of you where you don't have a barcode to scan, you do have the option of manually searching for the person as well too. So select a person from here. So one thing to know with this is that when you do things manually, you're only going to get access to the items that you have access to as a user per your permissions. Okay, so when you're downloading a person, this is only, you'll only have access to your people. Okay. Now, when you can scan the issue to anybody, even if they're outside of your organization, they're coming to help. You've got mutual aid and they've got a barcode that was printed through Rapid-Tag. You can scan that Rapid-Tag and issue them items. Okay. But if you're doing a manual add, you can only assign it to people within your organization that you have access to. That's also the same when it comes to equipment. Though the difference is that for equipment, you can only ever issue out equipment that you have access to. Whether if you have a barcode or if you're doing a manual add, you have to have access to that piece of equipment. You can't issue out equipment that doesn't belong to you. questions? I think there's a question over here. Can you make a collection for all the equipment in a given one trailer or container? You could absolutely. However, the collection is not something that's scannable through the inventory app. The inventory app can only be issued out to an actual person. If you wanted to, let's say, issue out, which we have done in the past for other organizations that I've trained in the past, where they're wanting to track it that they've gave a cache of inventory items to a location. You'd have to create that location as a person. But when it comes to collections, it doesn't work that way. In collections, the only way they're going to be able to do that, if you're looking at on the issuance side, this is something we're going to be actually doing in a future release for inventory, is probably being able to create kits. I don't know how that's going to look like in the inventory app yet. We haven't built out that far, but I know that it's coming soon. But right now, the only things you're going to be able to do is to go in here and create those collections. So right here, you can create a collection for all the equipment that's on a trailer or a container. Now, when you issue out that trailer or that container, you can just go into the inventory app and issue out that trailer or container. And it's an optional area for you. If you want to say, if when I issue up this trailer, we already know that there's a bunch of equipment that's on that trailer that's also being issued out to that person. Or you have the option of going in here to a piece of equipment and linking those items and then issuing out all the items. So you're just not issuing out the one trailer, but you're also going to issue out every single item that's on that trailer. If I can give you an example on here, go back on here. Filter, let me see here. What do I have? I have a medical bag kit. So you see here, I've got a medical bag kit. I can issue out just the bag kit one and say that there's a bunch of this item in here. Or I can say that I am going to issue out the medical bag kit and maybe there's some other fixed items that's in here. Okay, so it doesn't really make sense for if you have consumable items. In this case, you'll have to know, like, this medical bag kit has how many cold packs of this ID, how many cold packs, with this ID, how many disposable blankets with this ID, and band-aids. So it's harder when you're working with consumable items versus if you had fixed items in here. It's a lot easier to find. Let me do engine on here. So like right here, this engine has an axe and an apex. So I can issue out the engine and then also issue out the apex, radio, and the axe that's on the engine. And so this person would have 3 items instead of 1, knowing that on back end, the radio and the axe belongs on that truck. Jonathan, hopefully that answers your question. There's just so many different ways to do this. Just unfortunately, we're not able to issue out kits yet to people through the inventory app. So there's workarounds around that you're able to use instead. Any other questions? No other questions? All right, so we're going to go back. I'm going to go back to the inventory main screen and we're going to look at returns. So on the return side, so we just complete issue. We're going to go to return. So on the return side, you're going to see that it is listed by person in alphabetical order, and then the items that's been issued out to that person in alphabetical order or alphanumeric order. Now on this list on the return side, you're only going to see all the fixed items that were issued out to a person. So it has to be a fixed equipment. If it's a consumable item, you're not going to see that listed here. Reason for that is because consumable items are technically made to be used up. So most likely, once they've used, they're going to be disposed of and not be returned back in your inventory. Now, if you do have a process where you are accepting consumable items returned back, especially if it's unopened, etc., you are able to scan that barcode, that consumable barcode, and return it back into the system. Or, of course, you can always go to Salamander Live, go to that record, and then just change the quantity on hand. You have that option too, but this makes it mobile. So for returning, there's a couple different ways to return. So you'll see here Blossom Act. She's got some items on here. Obviously, the recommended process is to scan the barcodes. It's a lot quicker to scan the items than to actually, because it's more accurate in this way. So all you're doing is tapping the scan button and then scan the item. Okay, so I'm scanning this item right here. There it is. You see that cancer was added. You'll see that down at the bottom, there's an option for me to mark this damaged. So in this case, if your process is that everything that comes back has to go through auditing, making sure that every piece of equipment is back in good standing before it's made available, you can mark it as damaged. What this does is it puts it into the out of service status. Okay, so you'll see that. I tap yes, camera stays active. I can scan the next item and do the exact same thing. Breathing apparatus, I can mark it again, out of service, because it needs to get audited. Now, if you're putting it back in, it's not damaged in this case, you can just leave it. I'll make it available, and it's going to be available to reissue it out to the next person. Okay, so that's for returning, for scanning, for fixed items. For consumables, this is where you are able to return items right from here. So it's not going to tell you that this person was issued out this item. It's all that you're doing in this case when you're returning consumables, saying, I'm putting this quantity back in stock for this consumable item with ID number 1234, etc. Okay, so all I'm doing, if I scan this pleated filter, it says how many do I want to put back in my inventory? So amount to return. So I do 1, apply. So that's all it's doing. Once you're done scanning, you'll see I've got 4 items in here. So again, that's the most accurate way to return items. Is it the fastest? Not really, because it's actually faster to just tap one time to return everything under the person's name. But again, tapping and manual returning is not accurate. It's not the most accurate to say. It's not that it's not accurate. It's not the most accurate, because now you got to verify the item. So Blossom Act is returning. Is she actually returning Apex 8000 radio ending in ID number 272? Okay. Or does she hand that off to someone else and they switch radios? So now she has Apex 8000 radio with the last 3 577. So that's the only thing. So in this case, you can double check and verify, that this is the items that she is looking at returning. In this case, if you want to do a manual return, is simply tapping the item. So you tap on the item that she's looking at return. Let's say she's keeping that radio for now. She's returning everything else. So you have that option. The other option in this case is you can tap the person's name, which will return everything that's listed under their name. So you see here, Ronaldo has all these items that's listed out to him. In this case, if I wanted to return all the items, I double checked and I verified that he's looking at returning 2, 4, 6, 8 items, and they all match up with ID numbers. I can tap his name and I'll add all 8 items to my return cart. So you see, that's what I was saying, that it's a lot faster to do a manual return, but again, you just have to verify before you add it to your return cart. So in this case, I've got my items in here. I'm ready to complete this return transaction. To get out of here, you're simply tapping on your cart. Well, it doesn't say a cart on here, but your cart says 13 items. So we're going to your return cart, tap on that. It's going to take you to your return cart. And the return, Jonathan, another question. The return function, it would be helpful to have a search option magnifying glass. Yes, thank you for bringing that up. We are going to be adding that in our next release for this. I haven't seen it yet, but I know that that is in the pipeline to get developed for the inventory app. So it is coming. That is one of the first things that popped up when we did a revamp of the issue side, is that we didn't get a chance to do the return side. So that is coming. On the return side, you'll see in here the return cart. We've got 2 items marked as out of service, and then there's all the items that's being returned. So again, return means it's being put back into your inventory and being made available. Now you'll see that we just tapped Ronaldo's name, so all 8 items were returned to the cart. Now this is your chance to go in here and say, okay, what are these items? Do they need to get audited? Do they need to get put out of service, or are they missing? So you have your options right here. You'll see that there's this ellipsis icon. You can simply tap on that, and then you can change the status on here. So you have the missing or out of service, and then of course the default is a return. Okay, so if this radio is missing, I can mark it as missing, and it's going to add it to that status missing. Now, there is no notations where you can add on here and why you're marking something as missing or out of service in this case. You can do that on the adjust item feature side, which I'll show you in a bit here and how you're able to do that. Okay, so once you're set and ready, you can tap return. If you made a mistake, you're not ready to return something yet. Like for example, this Move Through truck is not ready to be returned. I can just remove that again. Just remove it by swiping to the left to remove that item from the cart. Once you're done, simply tap return. Once you tap return, the statuses of those items will be changed and everything will be returned. Quantities will be incremented back if you've got consumable items. To get back to your return screen, simply tap the item at the top of the gray area, so anywhere in that very front line. And then from there, it gets back to your return screen. Tap again the back button, and it takes you back to your main menu. So that is the return side. Third feature in here is the adjust item. So this feature right here is scan only. So you do have to have barcodes in order to use this feature. So those barcodes, what I usually talk about in my training classes is having a resource book, and that resource book containing especially your consumable items at least, because usually those are harder to label. You're usually labeling, you know, a shelf and where those consumable items are being stored, and so that's not really accessible. But if you print off those barcodes into a book and you have that book follow along with you, you're able to quickly scan in any items. Okay, so adjust item. 2 functionalities in here really. One is to for a basic audit. The other is to adjust the item on go. So I've got some barcodes on here. It's going to scan in that. Let me go back for that canister. Okay, so I'm wanting to make notes on why I'm marking this canister or a breathing apparatus as out of service. So I'll do the breathing apparatus. Okay, so if I scan that, it's going to pull out that item. So you'll see here the status on here is out of service. Now you'll see that it's not grayed out. That means I'm able to change that. You see that? I can tap on that, change that from out of service to available or missing. So I purposely marked this as out of service on the return side. And what I'm really doing while I'm scanning it in on the adjust side is making notes on why I'm marking it out of service. So in this case, you know, this is breathing apparatus. You know, it needs to get inspected and sanitized. Okay. Oh, if I can spell. So, okay, so that's what I'm putting in here, sanitize and inspect. Okay. I can also take a picture since I have the item in front of me. I can take a picture. So again, if I wanted to, I can tap on that, take a photo right from there. If you notice anything that doesn't have pictures and you want to have a picture uploaded so that it's easier to identify, feel free to do that. Once you're done with this, you're going to make sure that you tap the check mark. Okay. Tap the check mark, the camera stays active. You see that the item has been updated. It'll be updated within Salamander Live. Now, the other option for this is using this as a auditing piece. So if you're on a trailer and you want to double check, make sure that you have all the items that's supposed to be on that trailer, you have that option to do so. So all you're doing now is just going on that trailer and you're scanning the items. Okay, so it's just telling you that, okay, I've got this command. It's laptop, the status is available. You see that? That's really what you're looking for, is making sure status, everything is available. It's not been placed out of service or missing or anything. So in this case, I'm not making any changes on here. I'm just scanning these items. So I'm just doing a quick audit. So you see that? I scan it, scan the next item. That's available as well. I'm good and ready to go. You can do the exact same thing for consumables. So in consumables in this case, I'm going to do these pleated filters again. So it tells you right here. So you'll see that the status at the top there is grayed out. You can't tap on that and make the change to status. The status in this case is auto, because it's based off of the quantity on hand. So the only time that you'll ever see this status is out of stock is when your quantity is at 0. You'll notice that this here is the only quantity that you're able to adjust on the go. You can't change reorder quantity, max in stock, or quantity unit, but you can change the quantity on hand. So if you're in the warehouse and you're doing a audit on all your consumable items, making sure that you have the right quantity on hand, so you can do your manual counts, verify, yes, I've got 9,999 of these on hand, I'm ready to go. All you can do is tap the check mark. Now, if you're counting and you are missing some, you can change that quantity, tap on that and say, instead of 9,999, I've got actually more in stock than I thought I had. Maybe I got 10,003. Oops, 10,003. Okay, so I found 4 more than what it said in the system. So I can tap apply on that, make notes on here. Okay. And I can just put on here +4. Just tells me that those are my notes saying that I have 4 more than what was originally in here. And I simply tap the check mark. Okay. Once you tap the check mark, you're able to scan the next item, and then you're able to continue that process. See that? If you've counted, you got 49,976 of this, tap the check mark, and you're set and ready to go. See how quick and easy this process is? It's very, very, very fast. If you find something like this, safety glasses was not found. So this red message right here means one of two things. One is that this record does not exist anymore, meaning that something in the record was changed. Usually when you get this is the record has changed completely, meaning the ID number organization belongs to, okay, has changed. Or that the record was completely deleted. Okay, so something's wrong with the original record. The second reason why you ever see this is that you probably don't have access to this. If it really does truly exist, this record exists, it's just that you don't have access to that record. Because again, you can't return or issue out items that don't belong to you. To back out of that, simply tap back and back. Okay, so that is the adjust item feature. Any questions on this so far? So once you're complete with the inventory app, again, once you logged in, you stay logged in. If you wanted to log out, you can tap the log out button at the top there. So let's go into Salamander Live, because we're going to take a look at the report. So everything that you're doing within the inventory app, every transaction, every log is being uploaded, synced up to Salamander Live. So there's a couple of different areas we're going to see information on what you've done within the inventory app. One is on the equipment side. So as you know, if you worked with asset management before, 99% of the inventory reports are available in the equipment database. And they're up here at the top here. So you click on report. So if you didn't have asset management, you didn't subscribe to it, you only actually get one report in here, which is a CSV export report. If you do have asset management, you get the rest of these reports in here. So what's related to the inventory app? First one is right here, issued fixed inventory report. As you know, this is the inventory app is the only place that you can actually do issuances. So this report, as you're issuing out items, you're able to see who has what. So you have your option in this case. You can select all. So I want to know everybody that has inventory, fixed inventory issued out to them. Or you can select this specific person and pull out that report. So I'm going to do all, run the report. So once I run this report, you're going to see who actually has what and how long they've had it for, who was issued out by. okay, and their contact information. So here's the information, Blossom Act, her organization, the date in which she was issued these items, who was issued by. So again, it's the username. So information on the item itself. And then you'll see if it's tied to an event, you'll see that in here. You also see the date, who created that event, and you're going to see cost information. And then you'll see right here the person's email address. So again, the person's receiving these items, this is their contact information. So this is another reason why you should capture email and phone number in a personnel record, is because those pieces of information are found in multiple reports. So if you needed this piece of equipment back, you can email that person, call that person, it's available in this report. The other ones, missing out of service, this here can be from the inventory app. It can also be from Salamander Live, right? As you know, you are able to change the status right from Salamander Live. So again, if we go into this radio, you'll see that this radio has been marked as missing. I can change the status right from here. Change status, you can change it from missing to available, out of service, etc. You'll see that assigned is grayed out. This is the only one that you cannot do within Salamander Live. The assigned piece has to be done through that inventory app, which we just walked through. Now on here, I do want to show you this for status. I'm going to go up here to the edit columns feature, and I'm going to add on this status. I'm going to look up the ones that are assigned. Okay, so I'm going to show you this really quick here. So I'm going to go in here for status. I'm going to add this on here. It's going to move it up further. I just moved it by clicking, dragging, dropping. So what I'm looking for status is assigned. I want to show you this, what this looks like. So I'm going to do assigned. So in this case, if I'm looking at the assigned, you'll see that when a piece of equipment is assigned, you'll see the person's name on here. You see that? So again, this process is done through that inventory app. And of course, I can do the return within the inventory app, or I can do the return through Salamander Live right here. So I can change the status. You see now it's no longer grayed out. It's because that's the current status. All right. The other reports that are related to the inventory app are these three right here. So these two right here are related to consumables. So you can do a detailed report, or you can do a snapshot, which is just a summary. I like looking at the detailed report. So if you click on that, it's looking at a date range. So you type in that date range in this case. If I'm going to just look at today's date. Oops. Again, if you want to know how much how much consumables were consumed in the for the year so far, so you can do January 1st, today's date, or if you want to do a quarterly report, you know, bi-monthly report, weekly report, you have your option to do so. I'm going to run the report. I'm just looking for today's date and what was issued out for today. And you'll see that the items I issued out earlier today. So you'll see all the base information on here. Okay, how many were issued, who it was issued by, who was issued to, their organization, the event. I know some of this information is missing on here. I just expand that. And then cost information. Again, if you don't have cost information in this case, you're not going to see that in here. So the only one that we have cost in here is right here. That's why total issue cost is $200 for down here. So we want to make sure that you add in cost information so you actually get an accurate report. Last but not least on here is the physical account history report. So this one here is related to the adjust item feature. Okay, so this one right here, it's strictly restricted to this one. Let me just move that over here. On here, let me that aside. Okay, so it's strictly related to this right here. So this issued item. Okay, so adjust item. So counted, not counted. What does that mean? So in here, when I adjust item, when I go in there, scanning. So if I scanned the item in this application, it's going to mark it as counted. If I didn't scan it in that app, it's going to be not counted. So that's what this means. I know it's kind of weird. It should say scan, not scanned. It's very confusing. But this was actually purposed for a actual blind physical inventory count. That was the direction this was going. It was changed. It might come back in the future. So counted, if I want to look at today, so what was scanned in today under the adjust item feature, I can put that information in here. Okay, so I'm going to do my date range, run the report, and I should see a report for all the items I scanned in just today. Okay, so this is going to include all items, whether they're consumable or fixed. So you're seeing here, physical, 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 add quantity, physical. If I change a status, it'll show in here that I change a status. So this is a physical, that's the action. All I did was I made a comment here, sanitize and inspect this item that was marked as out of service. So here's my add quantity. I added 4. So that's just me just saying that, hey, I added 4 on here. And you'll see over here, if you scroll over, you'll see the quantity. So quantity in this case is actually going to be the current quantity. So you see this, or the current quantity right here, 10,003. Remember before it was 99999. I actually added 4, so the current quantity is 10,003. So that's why having that note on there, what you incremented or decremented, is going to help you understand this and how many you added. So if you have quantity and cost on here, obviously it's going to do the extended cost for you. Okay, so that is this report. Last but not least, the other report is on the event side. So if you recall, in the inventory app, we were able to go in here and, sorry, let me make this a little bit bigger. It's so tiny. I was trying to make it larger in this case. I might have messed this up. Go on here. I don't know what I did here. I apologize. I'll just move this over here. But anyways, in here, if you remember, we were able to add an event, and we actually linked the issuances to this event called Tornado RTE. So in this event, there is a report in here, and there's 2 ways to access the report. You can actually click on it to go into the dashboard and look at the reports, or you can click the checkbox next to the event and look at the reports. Same report. How you get there is just a little bit different. So if I click the checkbox next to the event, I can go up to the report and say, I want to look at the inventory history report for this event. So it's going to be the 6th one down. It's a CSV file. I click on that, and this is going to show me a full inventory history for this particular event. So this report is the one, if you've seen so far, the ones I showed you so far have been, it's always split between fixed inventory and consumable. You have to get 2 different reports for that. For the event report, the inventory history report, it is a combination of the 2. So you'll see all inventory, both fixed and consumable, on this report. So everything that was allocated, consumed for this report, you're going to see that on here. This one here, very similar to what you've had seen before on the other reports. You get the issued to, or issued by, issued to, return date. So this is the one that you get to see the return date and who it was returned by. It could be a different person. The current status. So it's returned by, you'll see that if it was issued, it obviously was available, and returned by, and it was now made out of service. So that's the current status. The item in here, and you'll see cost information. So these columns right here that you see, QRS, are related to consumable items. Okay, so you'll see issued quantity. You'll see all of them have a quantity in there, whether that's fixed or consumable. Fixed, you only always see 1, and for consumables, you may see 1 plus. But it's going to take the issue quantity multiplied by the cost, and you'll get the total cost for consumables only. You'll see that, consumables only. Fixed equipment does not use the cost information. What the fixed equipment uses is the rate. So it's going to use the rate. So you'll see here $20 an hour is the rate. So I know that this is a default rate because that's what I set for my account. For the default rate is $20. And so that's why it's populating total time. So it's looking at the time it was issued out to the person, to the current time right now. So far, 13 minutes, it's costing $4.41. So that's the reimbursement for these items. Again, this is reimbursement for FEMA. So what you're looking to put in the rate here is the FEMA reimbursable rate. Okay. So if these are truly reimbursable equipment, this $20 an hour is inaccurate. So you'll probably want to go into the record and update that to fix that so it's reporting correctly for a reimbursement cost. Okay, so that's in here. I'll pull it up for you so you can see where that information is. So in here, I'm just going to click on this dump truck. Oh, that's a consumable. I don't know why someone marked that as consumable. Um, Here, this engine. And it's under purchasing. So you'll see here cost code and then the rate and the unit. So if you're unsure what the cost code and rate is for reimbursement, you can click on the FEMA link and then scroll down here and just look up your engine. Okay. And then you'll see the information on here. So what type is it? So you look in here, is it type 1, type 2, type 3? Is it a engine? Is it a aerial engine? Is it a pumper? So you can see the total cost right here. So coding, costs per hour, and then you put that information, you put that information in Salamander Live. Right here. Any questions on the reports that's related to inventory? Any questions? All right, so everything we've covered so far, I do have some past videos if you want to look at. So in Salamander University, under Asset Management, I've got a section called Inventory App. Again, I don't know when the last time I actually updated these, but we are gearing up for our V3 release in the first quarter next year, 2025. If you've seen the bulletin, it talks a little bit about that and what's coming. So if you haven't seen the bulletin, please review that. If you don't get the bulletin, email me and we'll add you onto our distribution list. But here's the asset management. And then if you go down here to webinar recordings, or there is webinar recordings down here, and there's one for mobile applications. There's the inventory app right there. If you're interested in learning more about how to add in equipment, you can look at importing data. I've got other stuff in here as well too. Okay, so back to basics in here. Inventory solutions, tag and designs if you're interested in what tags are available for inventory. Other things I want to show you on here is the documents. So everything I talked about is available if you're wanting a one-pager. Quick on the inventory app, I've got this quick start guide, which just everything's on one page, kind of gives you it's front and back of how to work the inventory app. If you don't like the one pager and you want a booklet, I do have a booklet option as well too. Here's the booklet. So this is a pocket booklet that you can fold. You don't have to make one cut if you want to cut, or you can kind of rip the page as well too. But cutting is just make it look prettier. But this folds up and it's as large as your palm. You can put that in your pocket. Okay. And there is a booklet guideline that kind of walks you through on how to fold that. So that's the cut I was talking about you have to do. So you have those options as well. Great for events where people can put that into their pocket, or you can do the one pager, laminate that and place that with your inventory or the computer that you use for inventory or in your kit. Other than that, anybody have any questions? Any questions? No questions? All right. Well, as always, thank you again so much for joining me today. If you're working through the features and you have questions on what we covered today or on anything salamander related, please feel free to reach out. This is our 877 number, our 24/7 contact number, or you can email me at training@salamanderlive.com. Other than that, everybody, thank you all so much for your time. I really appreciate you guys joining in. Have a wonderful day. Take care.